Every US visa story begins with one of three ingredients: love, talent, or money. Today, we're talking about a category where immigration law blends two of those elements: talent and money. And if you are a busy owner or from a treaty country, you have probably heard about the E-1 and the E-2 visas. But one of the biggest mistakes I see every week is assuming that these two visa categories are interchangeable. They are not. And choosing the wrong strategy can lead to major delays, requests for evidence, or even denials. Because although the E-1 and the E-2 are both treaty-based visas, immigration officers evaluate them under completely different business models. I'm Tapias, CEO and immigration attorney at Loigica. And in this video, I'll explain the real legal differences between the E-1 treaty trader and the E-2 treaty investor visa. Both the E-1 and the E-2 are non-immigrant visas based on treaties of commerce and navigation between the United States and the specific countries. And both can allow entrepreneurs and executives to live and operate a business in the United States. But the foundation of each visa is completely different. The E-1 is built around international trade. The E-2 is built around investment into the US economy. And understanding that distinction is critical before you structure your case. Let's start with the E-1 treaty trader visa. The E-1 does not necessarily require a large physical operation or massive capital investments. Instead, the core requirement is substantial trade conducted principally between the United States and the treaty country. And under immigration law, trade is defined broadly. It can include goods, international services, technology, consulting, tourism, and other cross-border commercial activity. But one word becomes extremely important: principally. In general, more than 50% of the company's international trade must be between the United States and the treaty country. And the trade must also be substantial. That usually means a continuous flow of real commercial transactions over time, not simply one large deal. Now, compare that to the E-2 treaty investor visa. The E-2 is not focused on where your customers are located. It focuses on whether you are making a substantial active investment into a real US business. And two legal concepts become critical here. First, the investment must be at risk. That means the funds must already be committed to the business and subject to potential loss if the business fails. In other words, simply parking money in a bank account is usually not enough. Second, the business cannot be marginal. That means the enterprise should have the present or future capacity to generate more than just enough income to support the investor and their family. In practice, officers often look for signs of growth, operations, hiring, and economic activity in the United States. The three biggest differences. To choose the correct strategy, you need to understand the three major differences here. One, infrastructure versus trade flow. An E-1 business can often operate with a lighter infrastructure model as long as the cross-border trade is real and well documented. An E-2 business usually requires stronger evidence of operational setup inside the United States. Two, source of revenue. For an E-1, the revenue must primarily involve international trade between the US and the treaty country. For an E-2, the revenue can be generated entirely inside the United States. Three, employee structure. Both visas may allow executive, supervisory, or essential employees of the same nationality, but the purpose of the employee differs. An E-1 employee supports international trade operations. An E-2 employee helps develop and direct the US business operation. One of the biggest mistakes we see is businesses applying under the wrong framework. For example, a software or consulting company may pursue an E-2 visa with minimal investment and weak operational structure. They receive an RFE because the investment appears insufficient. But that same company may have been much stronger as an E-1 case if the business already had substantial cross-border order service contracts. The strategy must match the actual business model. At the end of the day, neither the E-1 nor the E-2 is just about spending money or owning a company. The legal question is whether your business structure satisfies the specific regulatory framework immigration officers are trained to evaluate, and that requires strategy. If you found this breakdown helpful, follow for more insights on U.S. business immigration strategy. And if you want our legal team to analyze whether an E-1 or E-2 is the better fit for your company, contact us using the link below. And remember, every U.S. visa story begins with one of three ingredients: love, talent, or money. I'm Tapias, and I'll see you in the next video.